Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading Corporation, and thank you so much for joining us on our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, where we're taking a look at what is actually taking place in the financial markets here in the United States, as well as abroad, as there's certainly a lot of influences there. And in fact, it's actually become more of a melding process of global economies at this point than it is even domestic economies, it would seem. I have my co-host, Chris Agelastos, with me. Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, let's talk some economic stuff, if you don't mind. Let's see, for starters here, BRICS nations with 4 trillion GDP settles 90% trade in local currency. So this whole thing with BRICS is just, again, continues to gain more and more momentum.
Yeah.
Prime Minister Modi and Putin spending a lot of time together, discussing the utilization of their local currencies, which is largely India, it's the rupee, the ruble from Russia, and then the yuan from China. But this being said, what they're saying here in this article, and this is of some concern, is that the U.S. is now become basically a common enemy with them all. Those are kind of strong words, but it really, at the end of the day, looks to be, unfortunately, kind of an accurate description. You have the reasons or the rationale that they have for using these currencies, settling in local currencies versus the U.S. dollar, is they're saying it will help boost their economy, and we've talked about that. It does, and it has. It lifts their GDP, so that's a good thing as well. Building some strength there. And I think where it really kind of hits home too is it brings inflation under control. And inflation it's a part of life. We've kind of come to understand or realize that. But here in the U.S., we know all too well what inflation running away is very painful. It takes a toll on your citizens. And so, this is something that, as this is taking place, and you're talking now trillions of dollars, this trend that we've been looking at seems like it's not gonna not only not stop, not slow down, but it's picking up a ton of momentum right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing, all of those points you mentioned are true, and those are positive reasons for them, for India and Russia and the other BRICS nations to be using their own currencies. But I really come back to, especially being in a capitalist society, as we are here in the U.S., is, what reasons are we giving them to use the U.S. dollar?
Right.
Because that's really what it's going to take. I mean, the U.S. dollar, they had a competitive advantage using the U.S. dollar for a lot of years, and slowly over the last 15 years, for the most part, a lot of those benefits have sort of become negatives for those nations, and now they're relying heavily on their own currencies. I mean, 90% of the trade between Russia and India, so I mean, that's huge. 9 out of every $10 we could have been getting, we're losing now.
And we're
And
getting.
right, correct, yeah. So that's law. We've lost that. That's left. And so I don't think that's gonna change. Now, hopefully, we can make some improvements, to the dollar, and kind of woo some of these people back. But really, I was hoping that the Trump presidency would do that. I don't know that they have so far, just because of the tariff battles. Now, maybe once all that gets settled down, we can start making some positive progress in that direction. But yeah, as of right now, we're not really giving them a reason to use our dollar.
No, not at all. And well, let's get into this second article here. And this is the NDB, the New Development Bank. U.S.
Mhm.
dominance will end through non-conditional financing by the BRICS Bank, this NDB.
Mhm.
And as I read through this, I mean, this is already a very active endeavor, if you will. 39 billion that they've done in loans, 120 infrastructure projects they have going on, which is huge because
Mhm.
now that there are probably a lot of these projects that under the old system, the West system, they probably couldn't have done these infrastructure projects, but now they can.
Yep.
And they have 20 other projects worth of 4.8 billion that they're working on. So this NDB, they're calling it the BRICS Bank. And what's interesting about it is that they actually cite in here that when they were using the Western system, our system, if you will, the US, the funds from the West were conditional and they came with control. And through this NDB, this BRICS Bank, they're saying that it's built on trust and it prioritizes development over geopolitics.
Mhm.
And the problem being, and this is very well known because we've been watching it with the kind of the trade war, the tariff war, et cetera. But the system itself, they say, builds trust. It kind of thrives on trust, and it's built on trust, and it helps develop trust. And so that's something that it sounds very warm and welcoming, especially when you go from something that was all control to now something that is trust based and is allowing you to basically your economy to thrive. So I don't know how we get in front of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you consider the sanctions that the U.S. has implemented to multiple nations over the years. The U.S. has kind of been a leader, right? And we've all been pretty proud of that. But because of that, we've used our dollar to discipline nations, if you will, when we didn't agree with some things they were doing politically or within their countries. And so we've used it for leverage, which makes sense, and I'm sure it's worked to our benefit many times. But this is a situation now where these nations have gotten together and said, we don't want to play by those rules anymore.
Right.
Maybe not so abruptly saying that, but they're introducing other options for themselves so that they don't have to. And they assuming they can stay going down this path, you're going to probably have a lot of BRICS members that want to be part of this, because they're not going to have to change how they run their country just to get the loan. It'd be like if my kids could get their allowance without doing any of their chores, I'm pretty sure they'd choose to ignore the chores.
100%. Well, and another thing that it kind of struck me with this article here, or the first one, going back to that, Prime Minister Modi, if you remember, when Trump first took office, India was all in with BRICS, and then they kind of softened up a little bit. But
Yeah.
Where this full reversal came from, I'm not sure. But now it's looking as though, and in fact, for those of you tuned in, if you look at the article, they've got a picture of Putin and Modi in the backseat of a limo of some kind, and look like they're talking and friendly, and the progress just seems to be there. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it is a secret war on cash. And if you have not received your free copy of Secret War, you'd like another copy, feel free and contact our office. You can call us at 1-800-289-2646. You can text us as well at 1-800-289-2646, or you can visit us online at SwissAmerica.com. Call in, get your report. If you'd like to speak to a representative about perhaps some of the benefits of owning gold during these times, it'd be a great time to do so as the market is getting ready to take off. So thanks for the information, Chris. Look forward to talking to you again real soon. And for the rest of you, have a great rest of your day.